love, I tell you, love is that confidence. Love is what you give your children. Love is what you give. Let me tell you another thing about the Matrix. Going back to the Matrix, is that I was always confused about it. I always thought that, the Matrix was battling the enemy out there, picking them out. I'm gonna find those enemies, I'm gonna get that enemy, until I realized that until you conquer the enemy in yourself, you can't deal with anyone. Love is an incredible thing, and we don't know love like we should. We always talk about, I have unconditional love. Unconditional love is, we don't even know it, because if a person stops stimulating us, we stop loving them. You're not interesting to talk to anymore, goodbye. But that real love, that love that sometimes is difficult to have, that's that love. And that's a confidence builder.
RPSM Talks.
RPSM Talks?
RPSM Talks.
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 Welcome everyone. This is the 12th installment of RPSM Talks. The video you saw in the intro was an excerpt from a short film called What is Love, created by Flaunt It. We are so happy to have them here with us today and to shine light on all the things that they're doing. Let's learn more about Flaunt It. Please welcome Sariena and Caitlin. How is it going?
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Well, thanks
so excited to be here.
No, I'm excited because I feel like, and probably I'm assuming you feel a little bit the same way, but when you're downtown, so much emphasis is happening on what is happening downtown, and some of other regions of the city don't get emphasized enough, highlighted enough, brought to the attention of just what they're doing. So, I'm just going to let you start off with just what is Flaunt It in its current state? Where are you at right now? And just help us understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I could start. Well, I guess we'll introduce a little bit of ourselves too, and then Kate, feel free to hop in. But hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today too. And thank you so much for Regent Park School of Music for having us. What's it called? So we are the Flaunt It Movement and Collection. So yes, we are grassroots youth-led organization that works to foster self-love and highly esteemed representation for women. So our movement is essentially a grassroots community artist collective. It's all about empowering women to use creative expression, artistic activism to share their stories, and to be able to explore the arts and see the ways of how can they use it to really be able to reflect in their identities. And then our collection is our social enterprise, which is really all about embodying our values. It's all about giving women the opportunity to explore entrepreneurship, to be able to support women entrepreneurship, and all everything created in our collection is actually designed and represents folks from our communities, all designed from local and emerging artists from our community, all racialized artists. So that's us in a nutshell. So yes, I am Sariena, the executive artistic director. I go by she, her pronouns. And I think, Kay, I don't know if you want to add in anything. There's a lot that we do here. So
there's a lot. There's a lot. Like, that question is always so loaded. But yeah, first off, my name is Caitlin. I'm the community outreach coordinator at Flaunt It. I go by she, her pronouns. But I guess all of our work, everything that we do, serves communities like Jane and Finch, like Regent Park. We serve women just of all this intersectional identities who don't necessarily have access to things like arts opportunities or just opportunities for entrepreneurship. So yeah, I like to say we serve these communities where we come from and who we also identify with. And what was it? December, we celebrated 5 years. So we've been doing this for 5 years, and we'll keep doing this for the next 5 years plus. So yeah, I guess that's us in a nutshell.
Amazing. So the both of you started the project while you're in high school. And so I'm curious as to what were you trying to solve at that moment in time? What was hey, this isn't happening and we need to create this, and how's that grown to where you are right now? Is it the same thing you're trying to do and just bigger, or has it now morphed and taken a new sort of life, or just added those pieces along the way?
Yeah, for sure. No, great question. I'm gonna try to answer as best I can, because it's definitely, I think, like, starting Flaunt It, and since then there's been so many reasons that, like, of why it's the movement it is today. But I feel like it's always stayed true to like why we originally started it, and if anything it just evolved. So Flaunt It initially started back in November 2015. So I was 16 years old at the time. And it started off as an Instagram series. So it started off as an Instagram series called the Flaunt It Fridays campaign. And that's a campaign that was really focused on being able to invite women to share their flaws or their features. So it's focused on, hey, like, if you want to showcase, if you want me to take a picture of your flaw, then that's you also working towards like being able to accept that insecurity and be able to learn how to make sure that no one can use it against you. But if you want to showcase a feature, that means it's something you already love about yourself. And Flaunt It being always about like self-love, we were like, we wanted to still be able to promote that. So when it started, at the time I was actually going to an arts high school. So I attended Earl Heck Secondary School and the Claude Watson Secondary Arts program. But that means I was commuting from Jane and Finch to Yonge and Finch area every single day for 4 years. So like a good 2 hours of my life commuting each day. But that was solely so I could gain the access to these opportunities for the arts. So I was able to learn like dance and music, and well, I majored in film and I did my minor in dance there. But going back, with the series starting, basically when it started, I was taking photos in my bedroom with 9 black Bristol boards and a lamp. And I was also taking pictures in my high school. But at the time I realized, like, after a few months of doing this series on Instagram where we post these photos every Friday, eventually we realized like, oh, I can't just invite anyone to my house and I can't just invite anyone to my high school. So come August 2016, that was the year and the time when everyone started to celebrate Canada's 150th anniversary. So I was invited then to be a part of the RBC Make 150 Count campaign, where they essentially gave me $150 and asked me to make a difference. Now, the point of the campaign was to really focus on the ways like how people could do a bunch of small gestures to make a big difference. But at that time, it really inspired the ways like, how can we create like our first event for Flaunt It so that like more people could be a part of it. So that's when we were able to do our first open photo shoot event. Open photo shoots are a big part of like the work that we were doing for a number of years, especially before the pandemic. But at the same time though, that was also the beginning of us wanting to fundraise for our community art show. The whole purpose of this community art show would be to, showcase the photos that we've been able to capture over time, but also really showcase the beauty of our community. Because when you come from these priority neighborhoods or these more of these underserved communities, it's often, people often see it as like these like unsafe places to live. They have like, they give it a bad, or they look down on it and so on. And me going to a high school where it was like everyone is like more affluent, they come from really well-off families, I was facing a lot of that, where a lot of people around me didn't understand the beauty of Jane and Finch. Kate being from Rexdale, us again knowing that like a lot of these experiences that we have in these communities are the same, whether it's from Jane and Finch, whether it's in Regent. It was really focused on the ways like we want to be able to start showcasing the beauties of our community, especially because these are the communities that aren't getting the same type of opportunities, that aren't getting the same platforms and resources, that are going to help them even be able to realize this type of like love and belonging and self-actualization. So since then, I think what you've seen is the ways that Flaunt It has been able to evolve that platform and then work more and more towards that community mission of just being able to show the beauty, the brilliance, the talents of our community as well. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I like that, because there's a couple things there for me, which we touched on, and I'd love to maybe get you to expand, maybe even Caitlin, because you're from Rexdale, which is just like these communities are they're remote. Like one of the things I've said, like I was fortunate, I grew up in Regent Park, and there's almost an advantage because Regent Park's downtown, so there's resources that if you're in Rexdale aren't as easy to get to. You talk about going to Cloud Watson, which is like kudos to you, because one, hey, you got into the program. I can't even, it'd be interesting to kind of even just hear what that juxtaposition is like, leaving that community to go there, because it's a whole different world. But for you, Caitlin, again, so Rexdale's even a little further removed than Jane and Finch's. And so how does what you want to kind of showcase, how does that play, and what are the things that somebody who is from the city who will not really make it to Rexdale unless they're passing on their way to the airport, what are they missing about that community?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I really like how you highlight that we're on the outskirts of the city, right? Jane and Finch and Rexdale are pretty close to each other. And because we're on the outskirts, a lot of things get left behind. Like Sariena said, resources, access to opportunities, they're a lot of times located in like downtown core areas. But even more so, I feel like there's just so much stigmatization of Jane and Finch and Rexdale. A lot of people look down in these areas, like Sariena said, and it really hurts just what we have access to. It hurts like what opportunities are available for youth, right? So like I can share, I went to a high school that was like 1 hour away from Rexdale, right? Just because I wanted those opportunities and I wanted to be able to express myself. So yeah, I think with that, Flaunt It's mission is just making these opportunities more accessible for neighborhoods like this. Like Sariena said, these are priority neighborhoods, but yeah, just there's so little access to arts opportunities, which is really disappointing, but we're doing our role in trying to change that.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to quickly add to it. I think that's why we talk about the ways that like our work focuses on like self-love slash like self-esteem, leadership, and representation, because those three things are areas that we really need to focus on in communities like ours, right? Where again, when you are working towards just making sure you're meeting the basic demands in your life, the basic needs in your life, there's not always a lot of time to think about the again, the love, the belonging, is how to reach self-actualization. Some people aren't thinking about chasing their dreams, they got to think about how to pay the next bill. And again, and we recognize that like all of our families, we all come from very different backgrounds and different circumstances, situations. So we're all about like, how do we really make sure we have the platform and the space for our young people to realize like to be able to truly fulfill their potentials, to be able to even be set on the pathways of being able to explore that, right? So because like Kay and I said, like we both left our community in order to access the opportunities that we were able to learn and grow from, right? But we don't want that to be a thing that has to keep happening, right? Like there's a real and equitable like amount of resources across the city that needs to be addressed. So that's why like everything we do is like for community and by community.
Yeah, I think like I would add on to that too. Flaunt It has evolved over 5 years. You've seen, yeah, like Sariena was saying, we started off as a photo shoot campaign and Flaunt It Fridays, right? But now we're a lot more community oriented. We do so much work in Jane and Finch and moving more into like Toronto's priority neighborhoods, because we recognize that, hey, like people can't pursue the arts or entrepreneurship without like meeting their basic needs first. And we also recognize that there are a lot bigger things that are on us that are preventing us from like accessing like the arts or just exploring our dreams. So I think in terms of how Flaunt It is evolving as an organization, we are really doing our best to try to tackle those direct things that are making like these barriers for us, right? So yeah.
Can you talk about some of those projects? I think I hear what you're saying. But I also am asking myself, okay, one, how are you doing those projects? But two, life is also evolving for the both of you as well, and I'm sure people on your team. And so what is the balance of wanting to continue this work, making sure, other people get opportunities like you have, but also at what point in time is it time, I wouldn't say time for you to move on, but like, as you evolve, how does Flaunt It evolve with you? Or, and where's the challenge of kind of staying connected to it?
Yeah.
I asked a couple questions there.
Yeah, I'm like taking like notes on the side. I'm like, let me just remember it. Okay, I'll start. Yeah. I think okay, so like when we think about that balance, first of all, I think okay, so we actually set in stone that like our values are to create, to celebrate, to connect, and to confidence build, or like capacity build. So taking care of our capacity is a very big thing in our team, because we on our team, we sincerely believe that this is a team where we're gonna help each other chase our dreams. So if again, like we know that Flaunt It for a lot of our team members, our core team members, it's been something they've been a part of for years, and then they've really felt ready to start pursuing their business full time, or their like performance is full time, and it's been such a range of different things with the ways that we've been able to see so many people on our team grow through it. And I think like that's kind of the beauty of it, because the biggest thing for us is that we take care of each other. Like we see it as like if we see that someone in our team's capacities getting more limited because of school and so on, like we purposely have our off seasons during the school times. Like our biggest time, our programming is busiest during the summer, because that's when we're free. I'm doing my master's, Kate's finished like in her last couple years for undergrad. And so like definitely the growth of Flaunt It, like there's been a lot of it, because like I think naturally as different people come on our team, we learn from each other, because we're all coming from different programs, coming from different jobs. Like not everyone in our team like necessarily pursued like post-secondary education, right? Like a lot of them just went straight to working full time. But I think it's really been enriching to see the ways that we come from different backgrounds and been able to support each other in different ways, at different capacities, right? So yeah, like definitely I think there's always been a balancing act for us, especially because I think we genuinely have so much passion for this work, and we were like, yeah, we're ready to do this and this and this, and then we're like, wait a minute, there's only so much time in the day and so much time in the month. Like as we keep saying, like March we blinked and it's over. But like that's our thing. So we just like, I think the biggest thing is like as we've grown up, we just learn through experience. We just learn from one another. We honestly learn through our failures and our successes. And I think another thing too, a lot of people have asked me at some point, so like, is Flaunt It gonna grow with you? Like if like, is Flaunt It suddenly gonna pivot in its target audience, so on, as we age? Where we're like, no, I think the biggest thing is eventually there is going to come a point where we're not going to be the team leading it. And we want that. Like we want there to eventually us to be able to leave like a strong enough legacy, a strong enough foundation, so that a whole different youth-led team could take over this. But we know that, this is, when we say it's grassroots work, we were learning how to figure out things like from grant writing to payroll to policy work all at the same time. So we're learning, and I'm a firm believer in we're glowing and growing.
Yes, exactly. I think like grassroots fully encapsulates us. I think because even though, yeah, like Sariena said, we were learning together, but we're also actively growing together, and we take care of each other. Like we're literally a dream team, and like Sariena said first, but it's a dream team because we keep each other accountable. Like if, for example, Sariena sees that I'm overwhelmed with work, she'll be like, okay, I'm not going to ask you to do this, and tell me if you're feeling down or things like that. So yeah, it's hard to find that balance, especially with community work and grassroots work, but we do it as a team because we take care of each other, and we actually care about each other and want to make sure that, okay, we're not overloading ourselves, and we have the capacity to do this, and it's not such a burden, right? Because again, our mission is rooted in big dreams and in serving community, right? So yeah, we just take care of each other. We just take care of each other overall.
Nice. How big is the team right now?
Okay, so the way the team works, that we have a core team. So even though we're not working full time, our heart's in Flaunt It full time. That's how I like to describe it. So like Kay and I are like part of the core team. The core team's about 6 folks, and then we have our associate team. So these are also folks who like are borderline hearts are there full time, but they support us they support the core team really closely, just on not as many hours, to say that. And then we have our interns. So our interns actually was a program that we thought we will only do for 6 weeks, but then we realized an internship for 6 weeks doesn't make sense. So we gotta make it better. So we decided we turned our internship program into a 6-week training or incubator program. And then now our interns are working with us for the full year. So we have a team of 7 of them who are supporting us. So like, if I do the math, it's like I don't know. Let's say like 15-ish. We have team members who are like on and off. Like we allow like team members if they need to take a step away, to take leaves and stuff like that. We're totally cool with that, because again, like we like when we have off seasons, we get it. Like Ramadan is coming up, so we get it that when our team needs to take some time off and to really focus on all of that, and we totally respect that. Same thing again, a lot of our team takes the time off for exams, just school in general, life, we get it. So that's why I'm like, it's about 15.
That's cool. There, you had mentioned earlier about, you know, all the things that you're learning, sort of accounting, policy, things like that, which made me think about really just the sustainability of what it is that you're creating. And so what are, just in terms of, you know, for people who are listening who are like, oh, you started this in high school, and part of the reason why it's still here is because there are some of those things that you've taken taken stock and made sure that have been addressed. And so for you, what has been some of the important pieces of just making sure it's sustainable? And so where does that play in, sort of like, are there grants you've been going after to make sure, you know, you talk about some of the hurdles for, you know, maybe somebody that you may have had that when you're going to Cloud Watson, somebody else doesn't have, which is like, hey, I might actually have to help my family out with, you know, I don't want to say a paper route. I've never had a paper route, but like, you know, working at Loblaws or something where someone else might not have to do that or have that burden, and they can just kind of create their art. So what are the different maybe obstacles that, you know, you and some of your team are facing, and how is, you know, that work towards sustainability and all the other things that kind of help play into propping you up and keeping Flaunt It afloat? What are some of those pieces that have to come together?
Yeah. Okay. I'll
It's
a big question. There's the sustainability piece and there's the obstacle piece. I'm like, oh yeah. I think the biggest obstacle is always funding. But like before I even get to that, I'll talk about the Claude Watson experiences and all that, because I know you brought that up a couple of times. So like there's a story I like to bring up when it describes like this like inequity of resources, right? Which is, I remember back when I was in grade 12, there's a lot of different scholarships that go around. The TD scholarship's a big one that a lot of people apply for in grade 12. And I remember I was going back to Westview, so that being my homeschool right in the heart of Gin and Finch, visiting our trustee organization, our Organizational Mentor Success Beyond Limits, so SBL. And I was at their youth space and I was talking to one of my friends. And I was telling her like, oh, like, why don't you apply for TD? And she's like, why should I apply for that when someone at your school is going to get it? And that made me realize the sad thing is she's not wrong. Because the thing is, again, you have schools in our community are going to have sports, they're going to have student council, they're going to have like, you know, maybe like a council to plan their semi-formals and stuff like that, maybe a couple clubs. Schools like Earl Haig had over 100 clubs and councils. I had a trip opportunity to go to Greece and Italy. I don't even think it makes sense. How did I do that? I don't know. I saved up a lot of money for that one. People didn't understand I was saving up my own money for it. You know, people, again, like my friends who I went to Earl Haig with went to Harvard. I have friends at Harvard and NYU, and who all did their SATs and went to Ivy Leagues and applied for schools for fun because they had the money. They dropping like $2,000 on applications didn't faze them. That's the type of school. That's when people don't realize like how different schools are, literally just across Finch. it's mind-boggling to me. And that's when I realized like it's true, but it's so sad to me because again, like it's not like everyone in my homeschool, everyone in the community doesn't have the potential or the brilliance to be able to have this scholarship or be able to do these same things. They just don't have a stacked up resume. they don't have the experience to speak on. And that's why I think Flaunt It, you know, a big part of it too was talking about the ways like how do we also make it a platform so that so many people could explore their interests, explore their passions, and just to, you know, be able to try things and hopefully be able to be in the same playing field as some other folks in, like, across the city, right? So that's like one big area of things I think when we think about obstacles and hurdles, right? And the other side of things, we're thinking about sustainability now. It is funding. Funding is not an easy thing to get. I'm not gonna front about that. I think the biggest thing too, though, for grassroots groups, if anyone is ever interested in these type of like starting projects like this, there are a lot of wonderful grants applications that people could start off with. Rising Youth is one of them. Rising Youth, you could, if you are a youth between the ages, I think of 15 to 30, and you're Canadian, you're in Canada, and you have a community project that you want to like pursue, they will give you either 500, 750, or 1500. There's Q Arts. They also do micro grants for artists. It's always released in the fall. There's Art Reach, so they do grants about, I think they actually just changed it to 10,000 and 15,000. I know they changed it this year. There used to be three different grant levels, and now it's two. So like those are all things that we have to kind of go through, learn from. Kate could talk more about this. Grant writing has been a skill in itself that we just like learn from a lot of feedback for when we didn't get accepted, right? But like you learn from trying again and so on, right? And you learn as you work, write different grants and so on. So yeah, like I feel like the sustainability piece, it's something I will honestly say we're still working on, because I think last year was just the most like ever, like we just evolved so much last year, and everything that we were able to do last year was like absolutely incredible and beyond like what we could have imagined to happen, to be honest, in such a short amount of time. But because of that, now we're like, okay, we did it last year, we can do it again. So let's learn from this, let's keep securing it and so on. But Kay, you want to talk more about grants? Because that's
definitely. I think just the biggest obstacle definitely would be funding overall. But yeah, I really encourage you all to take a look at the grants that Sariena mentioned too, because they are very accessible for first-time projects. And it's a small amount, but it gets you started. And the world of grant applications is very like scary. I write grants and I'm still like, oh my gosh, what is this? But it's such a useful skill. And because it ensures like the sustainability of projects, or just sustainability of us. So I guess then really what is leading to the sustainability of Flaunt It was definitely funding. But yeah, I would definitely say that it's just hard to navigate. Like Sariena and I chat all the time about like how difficult it is to navigate grants, but it is a very important piece. And again, we're just learning as we go. And sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't, but overall it is a learning process, right?
Yeah, I want to say that it could be, it's hard, but like it's not, we're not saying it to discourage anyone. Like it's definitely one of those things you just gotta, you gotta learn, you gotta figure it out as you go.
Learn it, yeah.
And it's definitely, because it is a skill that you get better at as you keep doing it, and like the support's are there. But the other thing we could talk about, but I'm not gonna get into it unless you want us to, which is our collection. We purposely created our collection to help sustain the work that we do, so that we're like, if anything comes to it, we know that we're responsible for building our own revenue so that we can pay for our Adobe Creative Cloud software every month.
No, that's huge. I think I think it gets overlooked a lot. That's why I mention it, because you love what you're doing. You want to be able to continue doing it. And I completely hear what you're saying. Like I was fortunate, I got a scholarship. I went to Berkeley in Boston. And even if I look at some of my friends who I went to school with and the ones who have done well, it's a very different reality if you can move to New York or LA and you don't have to worry about paying your own rent. Like there's different decisions you get to make as a result of that, right? So I completely understand that piece, and that's why even I think why this series is so great is because really just starting to understand, because the burnout starts to happen, right? If you're throwing everything in it, but it's hard to be creative on an empty stomach, right? So going back kind of to your team, how do you divvy up the roles? Like where does, I know you mentioned you're always trying to accommodate where people are in life and school and work and things like that. So how does the work kind of get spread out amongst everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can go first, I guess. Yeah, go. I mean, obviously in our team, we have our who gets what and who gets to do what, right? So I'm the outreach coordinator, so I do certain tasks over others. But I think an important part is the but. Sometimes we are at capacity, like with school or just with our own personal things. So what ends up happening is we chat it out. Who has capacity to take on this task, or who can support with this task. Like sometimes you get support staff or our associate team to come on board and help with things. But yeah, we do have a set outline, but we also hop in and help each other when we need it, right?
Mm-hmm. I think ultimately too, the way, and this is actually a really big thing. And I think this is actually a big part of how Flaunt It was able to keep going for 5 years, because eventually we come to a point of learning okay, what's the best way to operate a team, and actually lead the team and make sure that the passion is still there, or how to recover from burnout and stuff like that. But mainly our team, or at least our core team, is actually split up by the admin side and the creative side. So we got like our girl Kate and Shanali, so our programs manager, and who are on the admin side of things. So you can imagine, it's like the grant writing, the curriculum creating, the partnership building, all that they're on that side of things. And then our creative team is our creative directors. So Rochelle, Danya, Michaela, who supports part-time too. They lead a lot of the artistic and creative projects for Flaunt It. So and it works because it's not like Kate isn't creative, or our girl Rochelle can't do admin work. It's more so like sorry, something just fell and threw me off. But it's more so like we know that these are kind of the areas where their strengths are. But if there's like, even like, for example, sometimes one of our girls might be interested in helping with grant writing or learning more about that. So then they like hop into support. So we just see what's like, people are interested in learning. When people feel like they have the capacity to take on new skills, then we kind of explore that and start like dividing up the roles a little differently. So, but that's essentially it. It's like, you need someone because Flaunt is an arts organization, we're like, we need someone solely responsible for the creative stuff, but then we also need someone to keep us afloat through all the admin.
Cool. You started off with social media has been kind of a big piece of that. What's been what's been kind of the strategies you guys have employed with it? What are some of the things, like, I guess if we're going to kind of give advice, which is like, obviously it's a great tool, but also that comes with sort of the pitfall. So what are the strengths and weaknesses that you found for the work you've been doing?
For social media particularly?
Social media in particular.
I think so like Kate and we do a lot of communication design. So if you need like reports and IG posts, stuff like that, that's our thing. We also freelance in that, so like you can hire girls if you need that. But what's it called? So like, I think the biggest thing for us is like social media can be like, there's no denying that it can be tiring. It can get like overwhelming. There's a lot that goes on in these platforms. We've definitely got those periods, because our biggest thing though is that at the end of the day, what happens offline for us is way more important than what happens online. So we will always prioritize, like, if it means we just been busy with being on the ground in our communities, working with youth, that will take way more priority than like making sure we're posting consistently. Now, it's not to say like, don't obviously, like, if you can put the time and the energy into your social media, definitely do that. But I think again, that's something that always grounds us. We're like, at the end of the day, what's more important, that we focus, that we're like, doing this shoot, or we're mentoring someone, or we're working with someone, or we're focusing on content creation, like anything. But that's also, with that being said, we try to make content creation a lot of fun. So I think the biggest thing for us too is like, if there's anything I could suggest with folks, is like, it's really knowing what you're trying to post. We like to surround our posts around different pillars. We ask ourselves, is it educational? Is it based on our community? Like, it's kind of promoting something? Like, think about the pillars of like what you want to post. Definitely have a branding kit. I do workshops and stuff like that all the time, because it's all about like, know the type of fonts you do use, like know the colors you like to use, what are your logos, because then you could just stick with those and stay consistent. And that's how you start to build a brand. When you start to have the consistent colors, consistent fonts, and so on, people know. When people see Flaunt It, they know, they recognize the font in their head. People just call it Flaunt It font. I'm like, cool. That's a font I found on thefont.com when I was in grade 11 and just stuck with it. And then people, when they think Flaunt It colors are like pink, they're like, every time people see pink, they're like, well, that looks like it'll be for Flaunt It. Okay. Pink and like nudes, right? And that took us time to build. But like, people want to see line art. Shameless promo to our designs. That's another big thing. People associate the line art with us. There's been times when people saw line art other organizations and they're like, they're copying Flaunt It. We're like, okay, yeah, chill. and that's the thing. So like, again, that's because we committed to something that feels good to us, and we kept sticking with it. And that's something we definitely recommend. If you were trying to do anything on social media as a business, if you're trying to make money on these platforms, you have to show up consistently. That is a big deal. But if you're going to show up consistently, be your consistent self. So identify the colors you like, identify the fonts you like, identify the designs you like, and so on. And then stick with that pattern so that people can start remembering and associating that all with you. So that's why I think that's a part of how people start always recognizing Flaunt It in different things, because people could just see the word mark in their head right now.
I've been trying to teach myself Canva, so I completely understand what you're saying. So, do you do the workshops through Flaunt It? If one of the students wanted to join one of your workshops, how would they do that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, on the brand kits, like building brand kits.
Yeah. So it's actually funny. So we developed some of these workshops specifically for our internship, because the internship that we made was started from scratch. We said, we're gonna make a program. I don't remember how we just decided that was gonna be a thing. I think one day I don't know, it popped into the group chat, and then we said, I think we're gonna do this. And I don't know, we submitted a whole outreach application for it. It's so funny sometimes how things just come together for us. But when it came to putting it together, the curriculum, you see like Kate, Chanel, and I were like sitting there like, oh wow, we really had to plan this out like week by week, day by day, hour by hour, workshops, book them, everything. We learned so much, truly. And we took so many experiences from being in different incubator programs and groups and so on, and just combined it to create the one that we have today, right? So the branding, the social media workshops I actually done is specifically stuff that I've done for the internship, and definitely something that like we are trying to see the ways that we can make it available to the community as well. So right now we're not doing any workshops, but that's definitely more towards the summer, actually probably like late spring. I'm looking at my calendar. Late spring. We hope to actually make more of these type of workshops available to the public, so that anyone could join, right? So follow Flaunt It and stay tuned.
Desperate to keep tabs, because we definitely have a lot of students up there. Can you talk a bit about Flaunt It Fridays?
Yeah, I mean, Kate, I think I talked about it quite a bit earlier too, though.
Sorry, I'm speaking
no,
over you.
Zoom world, it's just the awkward leg. I think we talked about it a bit earlier. If you have specific questions, you go about it, but I think Kate, you could even talk about your kind of perspective and everything.
Yeah, I was actually so can you Caitlin, go on just kind of more of a breakdown of kind of what it is. It's also like sort of evolution and where it is right now, because I know there's quite a bit, there's a few layers to it, and so I know we've chatted a little bit about it, but we haven't gone through. I feel like I've missed a few pieces by jumping around a bit.
Yeah, no worries. Well, Flaunt It Fridays again started off as the photography series. In terms of just, I guess, starting off where it is now, I think in every Flaunt It event, we've incorporated a form of Flaunt It Fridays, right? We always have open photo shoots, or just the pillars of trying to empower women to self-love, empowering the features that they love, as well as things that they don't necessarily love. It's every single event for Flaunt It, we keep that there. In terms of how it's progressed over the years, I think definitely it's grown just in the amount of people who have taken part and who's choosing to take part, and our capacity as well as this. But I honestly think I should pass it on to Sariena for extrinsic and intrinsic. She knows the whole story behind this. So, I mean, Sariena, if you want to chat a little bit about it.
For sure. It's funny when I see these photos. Fun fact, when we did that open photo shoot, oh my goodness, I had a midterm that day and did not sleep, but I shot 40 people back to back that day. Did not stop. It was madness. I remember when you're seeing it's like back-to-back shoots for like 4 hours. It was wild, but it was so much fun. What's it called? Yeah, so basically Flaunt It, it started as Flaunt It Fridays, and what we ended up doing is divided into 2 sub-series. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is from our extrinsic series. So extrinsic is all about focusing on like more of the external beauty, more about the physical like flaws and features, right? And typically what we always did is that we always shot it against a black background, and we usually ask folks to kind of come in with a white shirt so that the contrast is really there. You see most of their like actual headshots, but like we would actually take pictures as well, like close-ups of their like whatever they're showcasing. So for example, Lisa's smile, we actually have close-ups of her smile, and so on. So this is like, we have shot at least over 100 of each series, probably more. I definitely lost count. And so each of these photos, definitely, they always ask for their story too. So we would send them the photos, ask them to choose what photos they want edited, and we'll ask them for their story as well. So you see the way that they all have their story. Coming up soon, you'll eventually see it, is our intrinsic series. So that's all about internal beauty. So it's the opposite of what you see here. It's a white background and black shirt. So that really helped us always show the contrast of things for Flaunt It, because we're like, you know, when we talk about about our beauty, we want to talk about both our beauty on the inside and the outside, right? And then we're talking about like the intrinsic series. It's really focusing like, oh, it's coming out. So like, it's really focusing on like, what do you feel like makes you you? Like, what a part of your personality? Like, really getting those like genuine candids of people, showing their genuine smiles and all of that. So sometimes we did shoots where we would do both intrinsic and extrinsic. Sometimes we did specifically only intrinsic shoots. Sometimes, so this shoot was actually an only intrinsic one. Sometimes, yeah, and it was very much like that. So we were shooting these pretty consistently until February 2020, and that was when we actually had our first community art show and exhibit. So that was wild, because again, going back to when Flaunt It first started, we're like, you know, we want to do this community art show, and we were asking people for admission fees of $2. I was not thinking that, you know, $2 times like 15 people would not give you the funds to do a whole exhibit, but you know, it was a thought that counts and you lay through the process. So I think the biggest thing too is that, like, you know, by that point in years, right? From August like 2016 time when we did our first event to February 2020, we were shooting all of these campaigns very consistently, and collected hundreds of stories in the process, and then we're able to finally exhibit it at York University's Winters College, which is their Eleanor Winters Art Gallery. So we got to have an exhibit up for 2 weeks. We had a wonderful open night where we had all like performers from the community, performers of and vendors of people who've been working with us for a number of years. And it was a lot. It's honestly, it was really cool to be able to get to that point, because we're like, we did it. We did the art show. And then now we're like, okay, we got to keep going. We have even more that we want to do.
That's really cool. So I have a question around just kind of how you stay in control of the narrative or the messaging, and like what are basically, I guess, have there been challenges in sort of in the work that you're doing? But we know, during COVID, social media has been like a very challenging thing for people who are now like, you're stuck at home, and that's where you're sort of diving into and going down rabbit holes. So how do you maintain such a powerful tool that can be such a positive tool, but also use kind of, I don't want to say without supervision, but like, when you kind of are bored, how do you keep the positivity and sort of the and just sort of the positive movement towards of like how to use it and not let it use you?
Are you talking about social media?
Yeah. And sort of because
okay.
there's when I see some of the work, I'm like, wow, this is so amazing, but it's also, there's a vulnerability there. And so, there's also that balance of like, when is, sort of showing that vulnerability part of that strength, but also how do you also manage it so that it doesn't go in a direction you don't want it to?
Yeah, I think, I can start off, but I think that's a really big challenge. And thank you for mentioning it. It's like, what do we show and what don't we show, right? And especially, like you were saying, Instagram or social media in general is such a powerful platform to connect and to share our stories, but drawing that line or choosing what to share in order to like make sure that we're not hurting ourselves or we're at capacity to share these things, right? I think one of the main things is, I think for Flaunt It, we use Instagram as a site of communication and to share what our community is doing. But we want it so that people can get involved and to see what we're doing. But yeah, we put limits on necessarily just how much we do put out there of ourselves, and again, how much capacity we do have to dedicate to, again, like our Instagram or our socials, and we limit it, right? We limit it to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves at the end of the day. Like Sariena said, whatever happens offline is more important than whatever happens online. So yeah, and Sariena, you can even talk more about some challenges with social
Oh,
media, even though it is such a tool.
Social media. I love it. I love it. And then I forget that we have to keep going. Honestly, no, I think it's one of those things too, like just a bit of what Kate was saying. It's important to build boundaries for yourself and boundaries to the people that you're working with, I think. Like typically in Flaunt It, because I'm a firm believer that people's capacity just becomes limited. Like when we say it's high or low, I'm like, is it really like a scale like that? I think when you define it as limited, that's you saying to yourself that I have to make boundaries of what I could take on. And that goes the same way with social media. I think we just set up boundaries and healthy ones for us to understand like what's meant for us to post and what's not. Sometimes when it comes to like, a lot of different women issues, we have also clearly define for ourselves like what issues for women do we talk about, do we not talk about, because like we don't like there's also areas of like things that happen to women that yes we may share the experience but we're not experts on. When it comes to more sensitive topics, sometimes we're not equipped and our team isn't equipped with the capacity or like the just even the background and so on to be like handling how our community might take that, like if it's more sensitive topics. So that's why we have I think it's also important when you do social media work or when you're establishing a brand, is like think about like what's your tone. So for us, everything we do is very much in a love and light. Like we are posted the epitome of like spreading love and light. But also too, I think there's something we say in our team that I've heard from the church I listen to, which is like we like to keep things hot, humble, open, and transparent. And we do keep that in our work that we do too, because we like to keep people involved and know what's going on and so on. Because I think that's also how people resonate with Flaunt It's work as well. So I'm trying to also fully remember the question here, but I think like when I think we in terms of maintaining social media, the biggest thing is for us like setting up those boundaries. Oh, sorry, this is what I want to say. For our team, we have a rule where we don't work on Flaunt It or talk about Flaunt It after 10 p.m. or on weekends. So in social media, we actually schedule all our posts of anything. So that's all pre-scheduled so that we just see you on Monday. And that we need to set up those boundaries because like we're dealing with so many different things, so on. When we see people like posting about a bunch of things about a topic and so on, and we see like there's the temptation to hop on the bandwagon, we usually don't, because we usually like to make sure we're taking more time to make sure we really understand the content we're producing and putting out. And that's I think it just goes at the end of the day, like social media is so powerful if you just use it with intention, and that's what we do. Like if we're going to be on social media, we like to be very intentional about what we post. We like to be just very mindful about like who we're sharing it with, and ultimately we want to make it fun for ourselves, because if we can't make it fun, then that's gonna be even harder to stay.
Yeah, I think I would add on to that. I think social media is a super powerful tool, and I think one reason why Flaunt It is the way it is because we've utilized like Instagram in the way that we do, but don't utilize Instagram at your own expense, right? Just being mindful of what you post, being mindful who's seeing your post, but also like burnout from social media is so prevalent, especially during the pandemic, right? So just take care of yourself too. If you find that you're like, oh my gosh, these posts, absolutely not, I hate this, like, but this is supposed to be serving you and like what you're pursuing, right? So just be mindful how you're using social media and making sure that it's a tool that you're using to like for yourself, to follow, like just again, like how Flaunt It's using it as like a platform to communicate for community and connection. If it doesn't feel that way, that's a good sign. Maybe you got to step back, right? Take care of yourself and maybe just reevaluate how things are being used. So yeah.
There's a quick thing I want to add actually though. With that being said, it's also to another thing that works for us in Flaunt It is we're all very passionate about the things that we do. We're all very passionate about different topics and issues. So we have to identify, is this something Flaunt It's going to say or something I'm going to say? So we often, because of that too, like if there's like, this world is really having a different type of issues that's going on, we have to ask ourselves, is this something Flaunt It needs to make a post about? Or is it something like someone on our team as an individual is going to do? And that's often how we just take it, because we're like, it's not to say that like Flaunt It doesn't support it or anything like that, but like we could show our passion, our solidarity, our support on our own platforms, because we all do have our own personal brands and personal just again like personal pages like that we're maintaining, right? That we could still share our advocacy and passions towards things as well. So I just wanted to add that.
No, that's cool. I've seen a couple of friends of mine who are artists set up separate accounts for, especially with, you know, the last 2 years. There's been a lot of, it's funny, not just COVID, but there's been a lot of things that have been hot button topics. And as the artists, they've wanted to keep those, the way they feel about some of those things separately. So so it makes a lot of sense that, like, even as you, depending on what it is you're doing or what you want to show, to start to separate what those worlds are, like what is, you know, you as an artist and what is you kind of personally wanting to get create and put out there. I'm curious as to, like, what has been, like, over this sort of journey, you know, your 5 years and counting, and going to be another sort of 5, 15, 20 years. At this point, what are some of the things that have happened that you weren't expecting, that have really kind of been just this sort of, wow, I'm so glad we're still here, we're still doing this? Like, what have been some of the opportunities that have come to you? What are some of the things people have said, or some of the opportunities it's created for other people?
I think I first would say just the amount of growth we're getting just as an organization is crazy. Sariena said it earlier, but the past year has been such a growing period for us in terms of just our capacity on what we can do and how many people we can serve or how many people we reach. So comparing us to like a year from now, it's crazy that we're working with so many people, or that so many interns or our interns are working with us, or we have the capacity to be like, oh yeah, we can definitely like lend you like Premiere, or, you know, you can have a membership for this platform through us, right? Sorry, I'm just like moving back to the question. I was like ranting about how amazing I love our interns.
No, I think that, yeah, just building that. I think the biggest thing too is like, there were so many things that happened last year that had us in tears. Like, we're like, what? Did this just really happen? Like funding streams that came out of nowhere, just like partnerships that we thought were really cool. The magazine, the quarter comments, everything. Last year was like, it was like revolutionary in our books. But we only know we're gonna keep going up, so that's like even more exciting. But definitely, it's magazine's a big one. I have it here, so I could like shamelessly promo. It comes in a hardcover and a soft cover. But this is so this is actually our first magazine, or we call it. It's really a visual anthology. This is far more than a magazine. Now, mind you, we did not expect it to be this thick. This is like a whole textbook. Our intern, Kelly, she's in a grade 12. She literally said, like, why is that bigger than my data management book? I said, Miss Beth. But yeah, Thompson has the soft cover. Yes. So I think the most incredible thing about this is, for me, what it was is the ways that like it finally gave Flaunt an opportunity to really let other, like, more artists across the city to be able to share their work with us. A lot of people always ask us like how to get involved and so on, and that was something we've been trying to solidify for so long. But you know, it gave me an opportunity to not be the photographer. You know, like it gave us the opportunity to teach people photography and give us like, the opportunity to like fund other people's projects, to like work with people and like give them feedback and so on, to develop their visual arts, their work with them in their writing, work with them on a range of things. Oh, I see the anthology is available on our site. You could get it now. We'll ship it out the next day. But you know, like this is kind of, I can't really see myself. There we go. So this is the anthology. So over 50 different, way more than 50, honestly, 50 different like women, femmes, non-binary folk, artists, activists, and entrepreneurs all across the city, all Black, Indigenous, people of color. So you can see just a scan through. If you want to find out the best way to support women, this is really it. But no, the theme of this one too is like, it was called we called it Love Deeply, Love Often, Love Yourself. So every year we actually give a new message of the year. So like 2020 was like, let's love more. The following year was let's love better. Then we got Love Deeply. And the kind of like the theme of it was like for all the women who have never felt seen. So this anthology was a really big deal to us because we said, this is the time where we are not going to let people treat us like we're a monolith. There's not one Black experience. There's not one woman experience. Not one Asian experience. There's not one 16-year-old girl experience. You know what I mean? I think like this is the time that we want to really give people a platform to be able to share their work. And I think like to like you have a range of like emerging artists, you know, moms who are getting paid for their artwork for the first time, the high school students who are like, I didn't think I'd be published. And, you know, we had a whole magazine launch. So even some of them got to see their work exhibited on the walls. So that was really cool. And I think that's the biggest beauty of our work, is us seeing like, this is really how we've been able to expand Flaunt It, to really share the ways, like can we give as many arts opportunities to people around us as possible. So proud of us for this. It's funny because to me, I went into this saying, I took one course in InDesign and suddenly we're gonna put this together. It was a lot of sleepless nights. My sister's background in printing really came through. But yeah, no, even like there's so many different ways. We did a bunch of features in organizations. So this is one of our girls, Curvy Queen. She has like a dance company for really focusing a dance company for all bodies, especially for plus size bodies. We got featured Queer Muslim Network. You see all the people you probably wouldn't be thinking about, but we want to make sure they're included here. We want to make sure everyone is included, but we know we still haven't included everyone. There's so many more stories to go. And we're very excited that this is going to be an annual thing for us. So we're like waiting for the day when we're going to have like a whole shelf of them, which is issue 1 and issue 2, and it's be amazing. So if you're watching this and you are a racialized woman, femme, non-binary folks who wants to submit work into this, definitely follow us and stay tuned, because you could actually submit projects in May, starting May.
Yes, repeating that promo, please. We have a lot of programming coming up, but we want to hear your stories. Like Sariena said, there were so many stories that we haven't captured, and all BIPOC, young women of color, please submit. We'd love to have you part of our second book, and I'm so excited to see it again.
I have to like promote this too. Like I think the biggest thing is that people don't realize that when we say representation is a big thing to us, like these are all girls from Jane and Finch. like this is our girl Sadie. So Sadie, Hawa and Kiriatsu have a podcast together called Let's Talk Big Things. They're actually all cousins and all from the community. It's my best friend Rachel, my girl Gabby. You know, literally girls like I went to like elementary, middle school, and high school. Not high school, but you know, like literally grew up with like girl next door type of energy. Even the girls in the back here, like we have Jasmine, who used to be in our core team, like since the very beginning. Like she was like a part of she also went to Claude Watson with me, but like and also was from the community. We have a girl Abby, she's a spoken word poet. A girl Haley, commuting from far to come to us too, but we like worked with her sister on a campaign, and she's a professional dancer, so we've been able to invite her. And now our girls here, like Hillary and Tasha, it's so funny because like they actually hit us up one day saying like, oh, we want to be a part of a Flaunt It shoot. And I said, okay, sure. Like next week I'm like, want to be part of like the cover of our magazine? And they're like, okay. And that's how it is. So if you actually hit us up and you say you want to model or do makeup or do anything, I literally have a notes thing in my laptop or my phone that I just add people's names to, and then we just hit them up when we're ready. So that's how like easy it is.
That's cool. Sorry, Caitlin, did you want to say something?
Okay, I'm all good. I'm just promoting it again. Please submit.
Oh,
I want to see you all.
Well, I think that'd be a great segue into like, you know, I know that there's plans to create a community hub right now. And did you want to chat a little bit about that? Let us know what, you know, kind of what's in the works.
Yes, sure. I see both Sariena and I smiling because it's such a big thing to say, like we're opening up our first studio. But yeah, for promo, we are in the works of opening up our first studio space. It'll be like a creative co-working space. So it's not just a studio, but people can also use it as like a beauty space. If like, for example, lash techs want to have clients, or people can take clients in this space, or if people just want to do work in this space, they can do that. So it's like a multi-use space where you can do lots of things. But what's really, I think, struck me about it is it's one of the first of its kind in Jane and Finch. And we talked about it at the start, but there's just so little opportunities and space for arts in Jane and Finch or Rexdale, or just these quote unquote again priority neighborhoods. So it's so interesting to say that we're really actively trying to fill this gap by creating our first studio space that'll be barrier free. It'll be open to all artists, and it's prioritized for people in the community, for racialized people in the community. And if you're an emerging artist, if you're an established, it doesn't matter, the space is for you. And yeah, we just want to create this space so that people can use it to learn more about their arts or entrepreneurship, or just use the space for whatever they want to learn about, or again, chase their dreams. So it's really exciting. Again, it's in the works, but yeah, it honestly, just the mission behind it is so interesting to just chat with you all about. And yeah, hoping again, crossing our fingers for us.
Yeah, we're waiting for funding, so we can't
Yeah.
wait to confirm, but like there's something, we have very affirmative thinking. We just believe things into existence. Like it's like the whole manifestation thing. It's also our faith. It's everything. Like it's whatever you want it to be, really. I think we're so set in the fact like it's gonna open in the fall. Like it will open this year, like one way or another. Like I'm still determined. Again, there's so much of it that we're still figuring out. Kay and I have written several documents and several studies and several grants, but we're so excited. Like it's such a amazing project that like even before the art show, even before like Flaunt It, we always dreamed about having a studio we refer to as like the dream studio. So we're actually doing this in alignment with the Gin and Finch Community Hub and Center for the Arts. It's being developed or will be developed as soon as the Finch West LRT is done. So because of the Finch West LRT is gonna take some time to develop, then that means the hub won't be developed for some time. But we're like, we can't wait. It's time for us to test out the models, to test out things that were, written in the feasibility plan for the hub, and give youth a space now, because we're big believers that we talk about this all the time, where our community centers have been closed. Our library has been under renovation for, I lost track. Our school is closed after 3:30. So where do young people go if they don't have anywhere in the community to go, right? And it's really great when we know about this, that there's programs like Region Park School of Music that's being offered to high school students. Again, our trustee SBL does a lot of great work for the youth in the community as well. But we know that like, if we really think about like the ways that we could reach people and be able to give people like physical space to like, even just meet other people and to do work and to take clients, to just try to pick up a camera for the first time. We want to be able to create that, because like I know that's something I was able to have access to it through when I was in programs like Remix, when I went to art school, when I did all these things, right? We all kind of it's also something that like our youth can only experience if they have the money to pay for studio time somewhere and commune out or a way to go to it, right? So that's why we're just so excited about the studio development. You'll definitely hear all about it once we get the grants confirmed. So I can't speak too much on it now, but I gave you quite a bit. But definitely coming soon. That's like literally our next big project.
That's awesome. So if one of the students wanted to be an intern or be involved, someone who's in the neighborhood or one of the neighbors, what would be the process? How would they reach out? Like, what are you looking for? What's, I don't want to say the best fit, but what are some of the things where the interest would align with the work you're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. But I would first say, if you're interested in Flaunt It's work or just want to get involved in the arts, DM us. We're pretty open and we'll message you back and be super honest. Or we'll even try to find ways, again, like Sariena said, we have a list of models and support staff and things like that. We will, honestly, we work with everybody in the community and whoever is like interested, right? And I think the other component is, again, our internship is coming up, very exciting, and it's taking place in the summer. So it's something that, again, is like we're considering like a hybrid in-person virtual kind of program, but it's for early stage artists who identify as racialized and who live in like priority Toronto communities. And yeah, it's to just get to explore your art form, any art form of your choice. We just give you the resources, the opportunities, the what else? The networks, just the support from us as a team to be able to pursue that. So again, it's for early stage artists. And if that's something that, honestly, if you want to explore an art form, if you want to publish in our magazine, our next upcoming series, then please, it's definitely something that I would say, please apply for. Yeah. Sorry to talk more about it too.
Yeah. Kate literally has written the curriculum. So what's it called? Like, it's for what's it called? Ages 16 to 24, 24, 22, something like that. We're not like, if you're like 20, if you're at the later 20s mark, we're not gonna be like, oh, you can't apply, just talk to us. And if you're younger than that 16 mark, then it's not like a make or break. It really is like, those are just the best ages where we feel comfortable being to support. And again, like, when you're in this program again, so we changed it a little bit where it's like, it went from, we call it a 6-week internship, but now it's like you start off as a 6-week training incubator program where you're developing projects in this magazine. Let me see if I can find one actually. So in the 6 weeks, you are going through social media branding workshops. You're going through production like workshops. You are meeting with industry mentors to learn more about your craft. You are doing, like, we're doing identity workshops, we're doing anti-oppression workshops. We're doing like everything to build you as an artist, activist, and entrepreneur. At the end of the program, we do showcases where you will actually present all of your work, because we really believe in also building those skills. So yeah, and then again, we give you everything. So we need everything from the paint to the, like, one of our girls are in the program for cooking, because cooking is art, culinary arts. It's a true art. So like, it's really just buying all the groceries and like the different materials that she needed to do all of that, right? This is one of our girls, Omega. This is actually one of her, she didn't do this actually for the program, she did it afterwards, but this is one of her visual art pieces. Coming to the program, she barely touched her visual arts. Same, I want to find I used to I take deep pride in her. I mean, all of them really, but like I still, like, for example, she came into the program saying, I kind of want to try photography. In 6 weeks, she didn't know how to use a camera before and then was able to produce this work. Completely led the entire shoot herself, organize the models, organize the looks, direct everything. And that's what we'll teach you. We'll literally help you. Like, you go from like not knowing, like, again, how to turn on a camera to like, by the end of it, you will feel comfortable to start freelancing and taking clients. And that's what all our interns are doing. They all actually have their own businesses or they're freelancing. And they're all between the ages, that group was between the ages of 16 to 20. Yeah. So we're very firm believers in our internship program. And when you apply, the biggest thing we're actually looking for is just passion. Like, we need passion and the capacity to be a part of this program, like especially for the 6-week internship, because after that it's like a year, but you get to work with us for the rest of the year, but it's a lot more part-time basis. But we're just looking for that passion. If you have that genuine passion, if you're like enthusiastic, even just about learning, you don't have to. We asked a question actually on the application, like, do you identify as an artist? A lot of them said no. And that's okay with us. We want to help you do that, right? So definitely that's a big thing for us. We'll be like, okay, let's talk through that, let's figure it out. But it's always to show the enthusiasm. And the thing is, like, again, enthusiasm looks different. Enthusiasm will look different from someone who's introverted. But the thing is, it's just like that genuine investment, and maybe the taking the time in the written application, maybe taking the time, like we do a written application and an interview. Because we like want to give people an opportunity to do both. Like, again, some people might shine in the interview, people might shine better in the written part. So again, we're very big on, like, we just want to be able to accept people who are genuinely interested in growing in their artwork, right? The only people we didn't accept were genuinely people who were either overqualified or they honestly weren't that serious yet. And that's okay. Like maybe this isn't the year for you to be doing it, right? But it's something we do want to do every year. So it's only going to keep getting better, if anything.
How do you find the application? When do they open up? May.
Everything opens in May. You're gonna see like Flaunt It in May is booming, because that's when we start to promote all our summer programming. So you're gonna see the announcements for like the message of the year. You're gonna see magazine promo. You're gonna see, or like magazine submission to proposals, promotions. You're gonna see internship. We're gonna, and then it closes in like end of June ish, so that we start I guess like mid-June, so that we could do interviews, and then you find out just before July. We actually start the program from July to August. So we will be working with you all summer, but we swear it's fun.
It's honestly so fun. And I would say, if you were on the fence of applying, like, oh, I don't feel like I have the skills, please just apply. And like Sariena said, we really are just looking for enthusiasm, a passion to learn, that you want to learn more about your art form and you want to improve in it. And that's it, right? So please apply, honestly. And you'll see the
You don't
application.
need the
come up soon.
skills. That's the thing. Yeah, you
Yeah.
literally don't need the skills. You just need to be into it and be serious, right? Like some people are like, I want to do it, but I'm doing like 3 summer school courses and a part-time job, and I'm like, it might not work because you're gonna burn yourself out, and we don't want to do that. Like we don't want it to be a make or break moment between us and all of those commitments, right? Like, and we'll talk to you about that. And even anyone we don't accept, we invite them to our workshops. We prioritize their work on our magazine if they want to submit it. So we're a firm believer that like it's never really a no with us. It's more like a here, how about this type of thing. Yeah.
Cool. I need to do no new promo photos. So should I reach out to you? You have people.
I mean, we're a big thing. If people need to hire us for projects, depending what the project is, we will just refer you to our range of artists.
Yes, we have a list.
Headshots, we got a lot of photographers. We're creating that website. It's gonna be a part of our website that says like hire your local like woman, femme, non-binary artists. So we're gonna have like a section like you need singers, you need graphic designers, you need photographers, so that because people often ask us like, can Flaunt It take my pictures? It's like it's not as we can, but people who work with us can. And I think all the artists who work with us do take deep pride and also are always happy when we could share a reference. So yeah, if you ever need stuff like that, we could most likely refer you to someone like that.
Awesome. Well, you know what? At this time, we want to open up the floor to questions. As usual, we have members from the RPSM committee joining us this evening. So big shout out to all of you and appreciation for being here with us. So if there are any questions from the youth committee or audience members, please feel free to raise your hands or put your questions in the chat or unmute yourself. I know Prashun is ready to kick off the questions for us. So Prashun, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Ask away.
Okay, yeah. So I just came up with this question as you guys were presenting. So if you were to start Flaunt It now in 2022, would there be any obstacles now that there wouldn't have been in 2015, like you mentioned, when you started Flaunt It? Or would there be different ones that are only possible now in this current time frame? And how would you change the way you grow your organization knowing what you know now?
It's a really good
question. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you know why? Because I'm so big on this. When people start their stuff, I'm like, let me tell you your checklist. Okay, if you're starting this now, if you want to start your own grassroots arts collective, something along those lines, you want to start your own business. Again, essentially, at the end of the day, we sell clothes and artwork, but it's again, we don't treat it like that. It's selling a brand. So if you're trying to do that, big things. Have a business plan. Business plan, even if you're in nonprofit spaces. I don't care what people have to say. We got to do I got to do a really great program called BizStart. Don't sleep on BizStart, y'all. It's a program with Youth Employment Services. They do like runs every 6 months. So right now they just actually the cohort application just ended. And it's a paid program from Youth Employment Services, so yes. And it's a paid like 6-month program where they will literally help you develop your business plan. And you technically can't be in school or working at the time, but they will help you build your business plan. You literally do workshops like LinkedIn, Facebook, all these people. A lot of people that we met through for Flaunt It, like even the people who we worked at different studios, a lot of artists we work with, I met through BizStart, and they actually helped significantly in the process of developing Flaunt It Collection. So Flaunt It Collection that time, which is like around like 2020, the year when the pandemic really started, that was when we had said, okay, build a business plan, because at the end of the day, your business plan is going to help you ground you like when things get hard. When you are losing sight of your vision and your mission and your values, you come back to your business plan and you can be like, that's what I'm doing this for. And that's what you need, because you need something to constantly ground you, because the biggest thing about this type of work is that it will get hard. It will, right? But it's like, what are you going to do for yourself to keep yourself grounded as you go through it? So yeah, business plan, branding kit is so important. Like we kind of had it in the beginning, but like I didn't actually know what a branding kit was in the beginning. So like it's different now, and especially because I do it all the time. So branding kit is so important. I always tell people like just identify those colors. Like know the 3 to 4 colors you like, know the fonts, and then really. But again, going back to the business plan, it really ties into understanding things like who's your target audience, who's your what's a problem and solution you're trying to solve, stuff like that. If you need resources, business plan creating, like Futurepreneur has a really great business plan writer you can use. And again, it's not something you even have to share with anyone. It's not something you have to do overnight. Just take your time going through it, right? Because it's gonna help you develop your business and think about things that people aren't thinking about. That's why, people always say like your business can fail. Most businesses fail within less than 5 years. If you have a solid business plan, you will start thinking about things that the average entrepreneur who's just starting isn't thinking about, and then you will be able to sustain this work. That is big things, big things. I always tell people too, like, especially when it comes to like clothing lines. A lot of people talk to me, they're like, Sariena, I want to start a clothing line. Like, that's great. You know that it's like the least important thing is the clothing. You know what? It's not about the clothing. It's about everything else. How you doing the shipping? How you doing the marketing? How you doing how you gonna launch it, right? That's what I recommend. If anyone's starting now, you have to think about what do you not see on the front surface, right? Like, it's more about like, because it's the things that we don't often see, and the surface level things are really the things that are gonna matter and keep you going. Again, it's all that behind the scenes work. It's all that business plan ready. It's taking the time to thoroughly plan things before you feel the need to just launch it full force, right? Like, you might as well really give it your all, and then know that you can launch it when you're ready, and then so on. When we launched our collection, everything sold out in 2 weeks. And that was like, whoa, but that took a 6 months plan. So when we do a collection drops, we take a long time to plan it because we know it could go well. So I hope that answers the question, because I could go on a whole tangent about just starting businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that
I would
really
add to
answered
that
it. Thank
too.
you.
Oh,
Oh,
wow,
sorry,
so
sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you for answering the question. You wanted to add on to it?
Yeah, I think I would honestly just say we talked about it earlier, so I guess it's a repeat of what we talked about, but leveraging social media, especially now, especially as a result of the pandemic, be very strategic, but also don't burn yourself out. Yeah, we talked about it earlier, but it is such a platform that you can gain a lot. And then I think the second part would be, it's like a big thing to say, but don't necessarily be afraid of funding if that's what you need. We talked about it earlier, but there are micro grants that you can apply for. I think a big one I would recommend is taking it global. There's 3 stages, and it's intended for projects. It's intended to start you off. So yeah, social media, business plan. Oh my gosh, I can't stress it enough, but thank you for Sariena for doing that for me. Business plan, branding kits, all that behind the scenes work is really what's important. And that's really what's going to like set you forward.
Mm-hmm. And I say business plan because, again, I'm saying vision, mission.
Yeah.
What's the elevator pitch? We change our elevator pitch like every 3 months. I'm probably because I'm constantly finding better ways to explain Flaunt It. It happens, right? Don't be afraid of change. It's gonna happen. And I think, yeah, like, if you also have any questions, don't be afraid to hit us up. I am very happy. Like, people DM me all the time to just ask me questions about stuff like this, and they need advice. I'm usually down to like hop on a call and talk people through projects. So definitely down. Just like putting that out there as well.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of the social media, I definitely agree. Like, it's a very key ingredient now with anyone trying to grow anything at this point. But I feel like now it's just so incredibly competitive, especially, and everyone's just focusing on the technical part, like hashtags, tagging these certain people, or like mentioning this, or just focusing on numbers and stuff. I feel like that's definitely a huge part of it now in 2022 versus back in 2015 when people just posted pictures for fun. Like, that was the main purpose. But now you have businesses involved, and they have to focus on all these other aspects that kind of can make or break your debut, right?
Yeah, vanity metrics, that's what we call them, right? It's the likes, the comments, all that. It's true, it's rare, it's valid. The way we like to see it is like we know platforms that to be honest, have called themselves like our competitors. It's weird when people say that they might have like tens of thousands of followers, but we're like, we may have 3,000, but we know we're directly impacting like lives of like a few hundred or anything, if not more, right? Like, we know that if we need testimonials, we need votes, if we need it, like, where it matters, those numbers matter. Like, those, because at the end of the day, yeah, people are gonna look, trust me, sometimes I'd be like, I wish I think got like 100 likes. Why not, right? But at the end of the day, you think about like, who did this actually reach and who did it actually matter for? Like, and that's what's gonna keep your page growing, and that's what's gonna also allow you to have value beyond social media. Because again, there's been times where those platforms have just shut down, and then people have been in a crisis, and they're like, "What do I do? My entire business on Instagram." No, you have to realize, again, you can't have your everything rely on that. You use social media as a way to amplify the work you do, not just as the only avenue to do it, right? So that's what we did. Like we started to just have fun on TikTok for a while, and in TikTok we had fun over the summer for it, and we gained 6,000 followers. We was from May to like literally July, we gained 6K. We're like, how did that happen? And it's just sometimes we literally just post consistently and had fun with it. And that's the biggest thing. We always just say, have fun. If you make it too hard for yourself, you're not gonna see the same results, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Like I definitely see you because when I'm scrolling on TikTok, I'm like, wow, look at all these businesses, and it definitely feels so competitive. But what Sariena said, what I find, the businesses that prosper, or the just the endeavors that prosper, are the ones that stay true to their mission and use TikTok and Instagram as a tool to amplify what they're trying to do, right? Again, Instagram's great, it's a tool, but it's a tool, right? And if we find ourselves absorbing into it, it burns us out, and we lose, sometimes what I've seen, we lose sight of like why we're actually being driven, you know what I mean? So it definitely is something that I see nowadays. So yeah, thank you for the question, because it's super important.
Eventually you'll be at the capacity where you just hire someone to do it for you. That's what we're trying to be at. Hire someone that's super passionate about it. It's great. The areas where it's hard, you outsource. Any other questions though?
I have a question.
Richmond.
Hello. Hi. Hello, Sariena. Hi, Caitlin. How's it going?
Good. For you. Our biggest fan right here.
You already know. Yeah, just kind of switching gears on that last question on like competitiveness. And you kind of spoke on it a little bit in terms of like your last year of growth, but how was kind of like your experience with like partnerships with like local organizations, and kind of like how they've supported you, how that process was, how kind of like the setup for events and everything, like just the in between of that. I was just wondering like that process for you as Flaunt It was for that.
Okay, I can start with this one. I think I take deep pride in the partnerships and funders that we have, because there's something about the way that we talk. I guess I realized it like recently, that when we talk about Flaunt It, we get people just as enthusiastic as we are about it. And it's the part, like when we build partners and funders, like we build like real relationships with them. We really like do enjoy that. Like, and we like to just like be ourselves, to be honest. Even like, again, like with Regent Park School of Music, that was a big thing for us. Like that happened because we got connected through our funder, Justice Fund, who found us, who a bunch of people told them about us, and who like they popped by from the town hall that we did in April. Like it's so like, it's just amazing how things kind of come together. And I think like, to kind of answer the first part, I think when you're trying to build these partnerships, I think a big part of it too is like when you're just doing the work that you're doing, when you're just showing up and holding space and staying true to your work, with something we realized is like people are always watching. We didn't take that in. People are always watching, and a lot of things actually came to us, and we're very grateful for it and truly humbled for it, to be honest. Yeah, shout out to Justice Fund. Love them. That's family right there. So I think like with that being said too, a big thing for us is as we also were building partnerships, when we're reaching out to people, we were just saying like, hey, like this is who we are, really trying to find people we align with, like seeing to make sure like, okay, if it's art space that we align with, is it women focused that we align with, like figuring out that, and then coming in with the idea like, well, how we're gonna work together, right? Like you want to be able to identify that and then build relationships with that. Like it was really cool because like literally, I'm just gonna shout her out. Like our partners at Sis Toronto, we were able to do workshops to get. They did a workshop for us during internship. They were featured in a magazine, and the beautiful Tashyla like sent me flowers yesterday out of nowhere just to say thank you for all the work that we're doing. I was like having a rough day yesterday too, and I was like, wow, this is so nice. And that's the thing, like our funders were gonna come from Ottawa to our launch event because they really want to show up. Like we love that. Like we love the ways that we just see the ways that like, again, like Jasper and Thompson got magazines. Like that means the world to us when we see it. I think when you're building partnerships, seeing the ways that you could just build the depths of it, make it genuine, make it sincere on both sides of things. And that's that's how you also build long lasting ones. And I feel like that's how you naturally connect to more people, right? So like I hate the idea of networking because it's such a capitalist way of saying you want to make friends. No. And that's not going to work for some people because people like the industry is all about networking. I'm a firm believer at just building friendships, building genuine relationships, and knowing that you could reach out to people because you feel comfortable too. Anyways, just my spiel on that.
Yeah, no, I think I would just add that that's why our partnerships have been so whole, and that's where we are where we are today, because our partners, we look out for each other. Oh my gosh, especially in the space that we're in, just in community work or in the arts, just in the arts sector, and especially in Toronto's art sector, we look out for each other, and we're always ping-ponging off of like what we can do to uplift each other, how we can support you in the best way. So if we were to look at our partnerships just overall, again, I love them. Like I absolutely love the people that Flaunt It is partnered with, because these are like true, authentic relationships, right? It's not just like a we give and you take and we're taking. No, like we care about each other and we're in this together, right? So
I automatically in my head were sorry, that's my ADHD action tweaking. I'm sorry.
Same thing. I was thinking the same thing too. We're all in this together.
Any other questions for that? I think we have a couple minutes left, so if anyone wants to ask anything. Sorry, we also go in long spiels if you can't tell. Yes. We can't answer a question concisely. That's why Grant is the hardest for us. We go through like tens of drafts just to answer one question. No problem, Richmond.
Amazing. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I just wanted to thank the both of you, Sariena and Caitlin. Thanks for being here. It's really exciting to see the growth, and like really just we're looking forward to seeing what happens next, and hopefully the school's still being involved in everything that you're doing. So we're looking forward to staying connected. I know Jasper is going to put your information in the chat so people can reach out, and I know there'll be, hopefully some of the youth committee, especially the ones that live in the Jane and Finch area, will be able to be a part of what you're doing in the future. So
yes, so thank you so much for having us again, everyone. It's the last day of Women's History Month, so we felt like it was really cool to be here as well. And like today's also Trans Visibility Day. So that's like my final words. Like, don't forget to stand in solidarity with trans women all the time. Trans women are real women. I had to say that because today's the day, especially. But no, thank you so much for having us. Honestly, like this is really fun, and definitely I'm excited for the work that we keep doing together and finding a way to go about that. Care and I are constantly figuring out and finalizing that, like how to get involved with Flaunt section. So definitely follow us, and you're always going to see something new with us, something cool, something exciting. So it'll be definitely ways to get involved very soon.
Yes, definitely. I would say just again, thank you for just listening to us talk about how much we love Flaunt It. That's literally like what we're doing today. But thank you so much for just coming out, I think, and as well, whatever endeavor that you're pursuing, just know that like Flaunt It is always behind you supporting it. You know what I mean? And with that, please don't ever be afraid to contact us, reach out to us, DM us. We're very chill people, and we'd love to have you involved in Flaunt It in whatever capacity that looks like for you. So again, May is coming up. Our internship is open, will be open. Our magazine will be open for submission. So please don't forget to just get involved.
Get your magazines too.
Yes.
And feel free to hit us up. Flaunt It Movement is the main account. Flaunt It Collection on TikTok. Our Instagrams are basically our names. Oh wait, you just changed yours recently though. You made it shorter. If you search up K, find it. It'll pop up. Mine is literally my name and underscore. So you can DM me personally if you have questions too. So thank you everyone. I think that's everything for us. If you have more questions, hit us up. And we hope everyone has a great night. Thank you.
I want to say a quick thank you to Simone and Tamla from the Youth Committee for supporting this event. Thanks to Stephanie and Jasper, like always, for bringing this series to life. Also, just please check back with the YouTube channel. The recording for this will be up at some point in time. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one.